Hey everyone, Credit Shuffle here, and today we are going to be looking at how to get a credit limit increase. First of all, let's talk about the reason why you may want a credit limit increase. If you want it to buy a new sofa or a new massive flat screen TV, that's not a good reason. The only reason I can really think of to want a credit limit increase, well, there's a couple of reasons. One would be to increase your overall amount of credit so that you can decrease your credit utilization if you spend the same amount of money, which will help your credit score and it'll look good on your credit report. To give a very simple example of that, let's say if a person has a $1,000 credit limit on their credit card, they spend $500 a month, that's 50% utilization. If they then increase that limit to $2,000 and they still spend $500 a month, they're down to 25% credit utilization. So that's one reason. Another reason may be, and this is for people who are just starting out, but they've only had a credit card for a few months, their limits are just too low for them to be able to buy large value items and earn points. And I can give you an example of this. When I was first had the Chase Freedom, my limit was 500. I couldn't buy flight tickets because it wasn't quite enough. I was spending $1,000 on a plane ticket, so I called them for a credit limit increase and they gave it to me. Okay, so let's now look at how to get a credit limit increase, and there are basically three different ways. One passive way and two active ways. So the first way is basically just waiting. So banks will give you credit limit increases over time. You can also help this along by always updating your information with your bank. So if you have a life change like a higher level of income, definitely go into your all your credit cards online and see what income is in the website in there, and if you now have a higher income, then enter your new income. Likewise, if you have a lower monthly rent payment, enter that too. As long as it's positive information, it will help in making that credit limit increase come earlier if you are playing the waiting game. Now, if you want to be active and initiate a credit limit increase yourself, you can do that. So there are two ways to do this, basically online or over the phone. Now with online, and not everyone does online, so basically American Express, Capital One, also Bank of America, they'll all let you do it online. Some other banks will as well, but Chase doesn't. You have to phone up the number on the back of the card with Chase and request it. So with online, basically you go onto the the website of the bank, you sign into your account, and you're looking for an option, usually in account services or account management area of the website, and there should be a credit limit increase option, request a credit limit increase. So with Capital One, they actually say that requesting a credit limit increase will not hurt your credit score. But other banks may actually give you a hard pull. For example, Chase will normally do a hard pull if you're requesting a credit limit increase. So you just want to be wary of that. If they don't specifically say it won't harm your credit score, then you might want to assume that it is a hard pull and probably call them up to do the credit limit increase instead, so you can actually confirm whether or not it is. And if you don't want a hard pull, then just don't do it. So anyway, back to Capital One. So I actually tried this out. I requested a credit limit increase from them this morning, and they didn't give it to me. Now the reason was there is insufficient data of on-time payments on my Capital One account for them to actually give an increase. Okay, so because literally the Capital One Platinum card, I just leave it in a drawer and I never ever use it. So I haven't used it for literally 2 years. It's just a dead account sitting there. It's still open, still got a $2,500 credit line, but it's dead. So this is one sort of argument for keeping your accounts active. Just take the card out, once or twice a month, buy a cup of coffee with it. Maybe you just have 1 or 2 days when you use it each month, pay it back immediately, put it back in the drawer again, just to show that it's active and that there are on-time payments going in every month. It's an active account, and then the bank is more likely to give you an automatic increase, and also more likely to give you an increase if you request it. Now let's have a look at American Express. So you go onto their page, you log in, you go to account services, and then you look for this option to increase your credit. It takes you to this web page. It's a little bit ghetto looking compared to the main web page, and you have to enter your income, and then you also have to enter the amount that you want to increase your credit limit to. So I did this a few days ago with my Amex Hilton card. My limit was $10,000, and I typed in to increase it to $15,000. So I increase it by 50%, $5,000. Now, how much should you ask for? Well, I think a lot of people online, experts who've written articles and stuff, they say ask for between 10 and 25%. increase. And I think, if you're talking about larger amounts of credit, like you already have a $20,000 credit line, you probably don't want to add necessarily another $10,000 to that. So you could maybe go for 25%, say, oh, let's add, $5,000, all right? But with a limit of only $10,000, an increase up to $15,000 really shouldn't be a problem because we're not dealing with huge amounts of money. Likewise, when I increased my credit limit with the Chase Freedom, I went from $5,000 to $1,500. So that's a 200% increase, but that's just because it was such a low limit. So the higher your limit goes, I would suggest just ask for smaller percentage increases, 10%, 25%, rather than say 50 or 100%, okay, once you get sort of over $10,000. So my Amex credit limit increase was approved, and it's probably approved because that's a very active account. I've used that Hilton card a lot, and they can see a good history of on-time payments every month. Now let's just take a look briefly at doing a credit limit increase over the phone. So like I said, I applied for a credit limit increase on the Chase Freedom. This is when I had a $500 credit limit and I increased it to $1,500. Now, Chase does require you to talk to someone over the phone, and they will usually ask the reason for the increase. And this is where some people can sort of get stuck up, all right? Have a little bit of a hard time. Obviously, to the bank, you don't want to seem like you're desperate for credit, okay? So, don't say, oh man, I need to pay some medical bills, or my dog is sick, and or anything like that, okay? Because, whether that's true or not, you don't want to say it. Banks like to lend to people who don't need money, okay? It's kind of a paradox, kind of the opposite of really what you'd hope. So don't act like you're desperate for credit. And in my book, you really shouldn't be desperate for credit. You shouldn't be trying to get a credit limit increase to borrow the money. Anyway, it should be trying to get a credit limit increase to have a positive effect on your credit score so you can grow that and open up more opportunities for yourself in the future. So anyway, in talking to a person, first of all, just be real nice to them, make a little bit of small talk, like, hey, how you doing? Whatever. Be personable, show that you're a human being. And then when they ask you, what is the reason for your credit limit increase, I would suggest just tell them that it's because you want to build your credit score. And you can say, well, I'd like to have a little bit of a higher limit so that I'm lowering my credit utilization because I really want to build my credit score. And right now my limit's just a little bit low. I'd like to bring my utilization, under 30% or under 10% or whatever it is you want to do. And you can also say things like, as well, well, I've been a customer for, 2 years or whatever. If you look at my account, you'll see I've always got on-time payments. So, I just thought it was probably about time that I would get one, and I thought I'd phone up and inquire about it to see. And I know that it's going to help my credit score if I have, a higher limit, etc. So that's my advice. What I actually said to the guy, I said two things. I said, it'll help my credit score. But I also told the truth about, because my credit limit was very low, I said to him, look, I want to buy plane tickets with this. I regularly go on business. I buy my own plane tickets, but the limit is too low for me to buy a ticket. So, I want to be able to buy tickets and earn ultimate rewards points from Chase. And he was cool with that. And he just said, okay. And they increased my limit over the phone. So those are basically 3 ways, guys, of increasing your credit. If you're not that desperate for an increase, you can just play the waiting game, always update your info, especially if your income is rising. You can do it online, in which case you don't have to interact with a human being. Amex, Capital One, Bank of America, they all allow online increases. And with Chase, you have to do it over the phone. And just remember, when you interact with a human, be nice, ask them how their day is, and do not act as if you're desperate for credit, because banks don't like to lend to people who need money. Okay, so those are little tips. I do encourage you to try and increase your credit limits, just so that you can, have a larger overall credit line, lower utilization. All that helps your credit score. I wouldn't recommend necessarily aggressively pursuing it, because with many banks, they possibly will do a hard pull if they increase your credit, if they don't have sufficient information about you to increase you straight away, and that will result in a hard pull, and that hurts your score. Okay, guys, what do you think of this video? Let me know if you have any thoughts about why you would increase your credit, or methods of getting a credit limit increase. Leave your comments below. I'd love to hear them. As always, subscribe to the Credit Shifu for more credit card tips and tricks every week. Give this video a like, and we'll see you next time. Bye bye.